Hi, this is Lucy, your clarity coach, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to the September Balancing series. And this series focuses on relationships and entrepreneurship. And it is my hope that by the time we are through with these 4 episodes, we will have a kind of an understanding of what it takes for us to find harmony in our lives, because we are seeking to find ways to explore balance in our daily lives. It is such a journey that we keep on embarking on every day, and it's that proverbial carrot in front of us, carrot on a stick in front of us, as we keep on trying to strive for the balance in life. And these 4 episodes, the first one starting today, are all about balance. The first balance we will be exploring today is the balance between personal and business. And that is the work-life balance, the proverbial work-life balance. And this concept of work-life balance has been debated heavily. And there is a school of thought that says there's no such thing as work-life balance. So in today's episode, I encourage you to share your thoughts. What do you think about this? Does work-life balance actually exist? Is it a phenomenon? Is it a myth? Is it a reality? Let's engage here on the chat and just get your thoughts and sample some of your answers so that we can have an engaging session. That is the first one, the first set of balances of the 4 weeks that we're going to be covering. The second one is meaningful liaisons or meaningful relationships. How do we balance that? Like I said, September is the month of balance. So how do we balance this so that we are able to meet our daily obligations, able to feel that we are doing something to the best of our knowledge with whatever information that we have in whichever situation that we find ourselves in? The third balance will be about balancing negotiation. It'll be around navigating conflict. As human beings, we experience conflict in our lives. And conflict can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. So how do we balance this? That's going to make quite an interesting conversation when we get to episode 3. And the last episode for this month of Balance September will be around fostering empowerment. How do we find balance when it comes to fostering empowerment? It's so good to see you there, Edwardi. Great to see you. Welcome. This is Tuesday Talks at 3, and today it's all about balancing our personal and business lives. And I'd love to hear from you. This particular series is talking on the areas of relationships and entrepreneurship. Is there a connection? Can relationships exist in entrepreneurship? And can entrepreneurship exist? Would be looking at. And it is my hope that during this episode, when we are exploring, we're able to look at challenges and some strategies that can work. And I'll be sharing a few that have worked for me. Hopefully these ring a bell for you, they ring true for you, they hit a point for you, and therefore we can be able to share some thoughts. So why don't we start off? And one of the first challenges that I have experienced in my life, and there was a time when it was coming, like the droves, they were not stopping, like a whole arrival of insects that could not stop where I come from. The village that I come from, we've got red ants, and these particular red ants would come out at night, and they would come in droves and affect our lives. So for me, my challenge that was coming just like these red ants was as a result of wearing multiple hats. And if you can relate to that, I would love to hear what kind of multiple hats you wear and what stress that comes with wearing those multiple hats. I'd like to hear what kind of challenges you experience. Well, I was experiencing disorganization. And for people who know me would say disorganization, you, Lucy, because I come across as somebody who's very well organized, close to a perfectionist. Yes, I am a perfectionist. But then it gives people the impression that I do not have bad days. Oh, I do. I have very disorganized headless chicken days. And nowadays, I am comfortable to talk about those days because they have given me a level of growth, a level of understanding of myself. So maybe you can relate with me. Maybe you wear multiple hats and you're suffering from this case, a case of disorganization, where you just feel that you have a to-do list, you never seem to get around to it, or maybe you don't even put your to-do list together. Maybe you find that with these multiple hats come a lot of obligations. People are expecting so much from you. Responsibilities is the word I'm looking for. How then do you manage to chart your way forward in these rough waters of these challenges of disorganization? Well, I'd love to hear from you so that we can sample your thoughts. Remember, we're talking about work-life balance here today, and it has been debated very heavily, and some school of thought believes that work-life balance does not exist. It is a myth. If you're alive, there is no balance at all. I'd love you to share your thoughts with me. So in this particular one challenge that I have had of disorganization, and I'm still recovering from it because you don't want to see what my desk looks like around here. It's one of those days of disorganization. But it was on a day like this, it is on a day like this, I beg your pardon, where I bring in the word prioritization. Prioritization carries a lot of weight and responsibility with it. It just means then that I need to have a plan that I have put together beforehand, things that I want to do. Now, in my very organized life, vis-a-vis my very disorganized life, but in my very organized life, I have got Post-its, and you cannot see around my desk, but these are the things that I have. I have numerous of them. And I keep on writing down notes and sticking them all over the place. I've got sticky notes all over the place. And my notebooks have sticky notes also all over the place. This is me putting down my grand plan into small, actionable points, tasks that help me. And therefore, I do have a list, as you will see here. I always have a list of a to-do list. And in this to-do list, by the end of the day, I will have crossed out a few things. And these to-do lists are all over the place for me, as you can see. This is how I function. And this is where prioritization comes in for me, because effective time management for entrepreneurs really helps in making things happen. And this worked very well for me. It also worked in my personal life. I realized that I could do in both spheres of my life this effective time management, but that just meant I had to write down things. Well, right now we've gone away from the analog times, or rather we're leaving those behind. We've got our gadgets in our hands, our phones. And on our phones, we have an option where we could write down our notes. And as we write down our notes, we can prioritize. And this technique helps you to focus on tasks that truly matter. So my question to you is, what kind of tools have worked for me? For me, it's my phone and writing it down. Ndambuki, I see that you have a contribution here. And you say, challenge being a mom, wife, and corporate executive who has to be, and I'm unable to read the rest of your message, Ndambuki, but then I can see that you've already set up a framework of where you exist. You exist in this realm of being a mom, a wife, a corporate executive. And this has its own challenges. So I guess you're responding to my kind of challenge where we're wearing multiple hats. So I can hear these multiple hats that you are wearing. I'd be very interested to know, Ndambuki, what kind of tools have worked for you? As shared here, the one tool that has worked for me is my phone, the gadgets. Using these particular features on gadgets that we carry every day. It took me a long time to realize a few years back that my phone had this particular opportunity, or a particular thing that was a note taker. that I was able to put down my thoughts, and therefore I didn't have to carry my notebooks around. As I told you, around my desk here, you don't want to see what it looks like. But these are my notebooks. And in these notebooks, I write a lot. And so every time I leave my desk here, I have my notebook with me in the car, wherever it is I go. And in my notebook, I've got lists, just like you have seen on my notes there. I've got lists and lists and lists, which then help me. I have prioritized the lists for personal and prioritized the lists for business. I have split my day into certain hours, and I'm so specific how I spend these hours. So Ntambuki, I'd love to hear from you what kind of tools have worked for you. The other thing is setting boundaries and learning to say no. The minute I have put down the things that I want to do, it helps me or puts me in a position where I can say no easily. If I do not, I'm that kind of a person. I don't know whether this resonates with you. Maybe you're just like me, where if you know you have a plan, then you're sticking to the plan. You are making this plan work. You are trusting the process. You're honoring the process. But then that means you need to have a plan to go through that. And if any distraction comes in my way, it is easier for me to say no, so that I can say yes to my plan. And this is one thing that has worked for me. Hence, it frees up a lot of time for me to create a better list for myself, because I'm doing for myself first before I reach out. So I love to help people, but in order to help people, I need to be organized. So the disorganized part of my life is then brought to check. I have to keep on testing it to this framework that I have created for myself called prioritization. So Ntambuki, I hope this is helping you and that you will be able to apply some of it. I can see Charles Munyao, I beg your pardon. Charles would love to hear what your thoughts are on this, and also you, Edwadi. What are your thoughts when it comes to striking a work-life balance? Does it exist or it doesn't exist? The other set of challenges that I found myself in, where I found I needed to come up with strategies, and strategies that have served me well. In fact, if you know me so well, you know me by this strategy. But before getting there, let me explain what challenges I was having, and maybe you can relate to this. Misunderstanding. Being misunderstood to the point that when I would explain what I would like to happen, it is so clear to me how I would like this to happen. And because I am more of a structured, logical person, I take you from one point to the next. I don't skip any points. But then I found there was frustration when I was being misunderstood. Great to see you there, Babu. When I was being misunderstood. And this frustrated me. I also felt directionless. That was another challenge that I was feeling. I was starting the day and I wasn't so sure. Although I had my game plan set out for me, I felt directionless because I wasn't having any successes. I didn't know then that I could actually celebrate the small wins of the day and take on my failures as lessons that were going to lead me on to success. You heard me right, taking on my failures as lessons and stepping stones towards my success. This was making me feel directionless when I was considering that I'm not good at this. Every time I try, it doesn't work. What is this I'm going to try out again? I was getting tired of this. And then the other challenge that was flowing me all the time, I said, and if you can relate to this, kindly just give me a notification here with a smile, with a thumbs up, with claps, or just drop me a message that yes, you hear me, was about being busy versus being productive. For a long time, I caught myself being busy. Remember the to-do list that I have, they're a good thing and they can be a bad thing also. Bad in that I was so about my to-do list that I was missing the opportunity to be productive. My to-do list ended up being counterproductive. So until I became aware of this and I started making them be productive for me, I was facing these frustrations. And I was looking around at my team and wondering, how come they're not busy? Well, they were working smart. They were figuring out how to get things done. They were applying their effort in a certain way that was going to make them achieve the outcome they were looking for. And I was busy minding the small details and getting lost in the detail and forgetting to look at the bigger picture. I hope this is resonating with you, Babu. It's resonating with you, Ndambuki. It's resonating with you, Charles. It's resonating with you, Edwardi. I would love for you to share with me, because I found frustration in this. Where are you finding frustration? And just to be able to share with you, the one thing that worked for me was communication. And this is what I am known for today. I needed to go through that frustration of being misunderstood when I was explaining what it was we needed to do, when I was busy concentrating on the busyness as opposed to the productive, when I was feeling directionless. Communication came in. And you may ask me how communication worked for you, because we are communicating every day. Right now I'm communicating to you. And when I find that Ndambuki is writing back to me, I know I'm speaking to somebody. I'm not talking to myself. Well, communication for me starts with my game plan. What do I want to achieve? What is my objective? I need to understand it first. What is my why? What direction am I taking to achieve this why of mine? Have I worked on all the things that could go wrong? Or am I just believing that if I stick my head in the sand, it will all work out? So I'm a realist, and I do know that the best laid plans could go awry. And because of that, I prepare crisis management tools for myself. So that is something that works for me in communication. I am able to share with people exactly what I'm going through and the outcomes. So when I'm sharing today in communication, I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. I introduce you into a world of brainstorming and seeing how this can help, because that way we have buy-in. I'm not talking to myself. So building strong communication skills to express your needs and expectations to the people around you is very key. Who are the people around you? You need to understand who they are. You need to know who they are. Is it your partner? Is it your children? Is it your business partners? Is it the people in a project? Who are these people who are around you? Is it your tribe? The people that you have put together to help you move from one bit to the other. What is it for you? Who are these people? Figure out who they are. And then you need to prioritize active listening. You need to hear. You know what you want, but then you also need to hear from them. In fact, the prayer that comes to mind at this point is the prayer of Saint Francis, where there is a line that says, seeking to understand rather than be understood. And I know I'm paraphrasing that, but you understand where I'm coming from. If you are practicing or prioritizing active listening, you are going into an environment where you are seeking to understand where people are coming from, seeking to understand what this environment is about, as opposed to imposing your thoughts first. Come in, do your due diligence. And this is how you're communicating now, because you're communicating by understanding what the other person has in mind. This concept of work-life balance is something that needs to be worked on, but you may be there and you believe that it does not exist, and I'd love to hear from you. So like I said, building strong communication skills just to express your needs and expectations to the people around you has to include active listening, and that's my communication. Thereafter, I go in and I update and I update and I update. I keep on updating people who are in my environment, who belong to this same objective, or who are contributing to this objective. How about you? How do you do this? How are you able to bring out a solution for these challenges that you may be experiencing? And maybe the challenge you're experiencing is exactly what I had, the frustration of being directionless, the frustration of being busy versus productive. I found that the strategy that worked for me was communication. I do hope that my tips here have helped you. Remember Today I'm asking you, what are your thoughts on work-life balance? Does it exist? Does it exist, or is it a myth? Is there any thought to this debate that we should just discard? Or is it something that we need to be discussing further and therefore see how it works? Well, my third set of frustrations or challenges that I experienced were fatigue. And fatigue came in many ways. Fatigue came in memory loss. I would try to form sentences and I just couldn't remember what I could string together to make a full sentence. I would try to have total recall on an entry of a project that I was doing if I was leading a team, and the words failed me. It's as though my mind had been wiped clean. I was suffering also from burnout because my body was just feeling so tired, along with my mental wellness that was feeling so stretched. My body was responding in the same way. I was just tired. Getting up in the morning was getting harder and harder, to the point even eating was getting more difficult for me. So expressing of thoughts, getting up to do activities, all this was hard. This is really what I experienced as a challenge, fatigue and burnout. Jerry, thank you so much. I can see that you're saying, yes, it does exist. Work-life balance does exist. And Jerry, I'd love to know from you, what tools have you used to help you in work-life balance? What has worked for you? What is it that you're using today? Please share with us. So on communication, as I explained, Jerry, and I know you are still there with me, it was me building those strong communication skills. But then I still had this other frustration. Let me not call it even a frustration. I had this other feeling like my body was giving up, like I was fading away. That's what I'm looking for. I felt like I was fading away and I didn't know what it was. Until somebody said to me, "You are tired." And I went to see a doctor, and that's what it was. I was told that I am fatigued, and I had chronic fatigue. And I was asked to sleep, to go home and just rest. Now, this is me who is a workaholic. There, you heard it. I was a workaholic at a certain time in my life, and this was leading to fatigue and burnout. What was my solution? What was my strategy? Self-care. And I know self-care today has been spoken everywhere and anyhow, and at times we do injustice to self-care. So I'd love to hear, what does self-care mean for you? What is it when you hear self-care that comes out for you, that resonates for you? Because the significance of self-care practices in managing stress and preventing burnout is huge. It really is huge. So I'd love to hear from you. What is it that you have in mind? Yeah, Jerry, you were saying, how do you set work-life balance when working with other people and managing projects? That is a beautiful question. And I'd love to just ask Babu, ask Ndambuki, just ask Edwardi, what do you think? How would we help Jerry to answer this particular question? How do you set work-life balance when working with other people and managing projects? If you could just lend a hand there so we could help Jerry figure it out. My 3 points, Jerry, are prioritization, communication, and self-care. In fact, self-care and Jerry should come at the top. You need to be able to take care of yourself first. Now, when you take care of yourself first, you're coming from a place of abundance. You're pouring out from a place that has something to pour out. By the time I was getting fatigued and burnout, clearly my cup was empty. I was unable to pour out from that cup, but I was still tilting the cup. I was still expecting more from myself to show up. because most of my life I was in leadership positions. So I felt that I had to be there for others to the point that I forgot myself. And this is self-care. Self-care will be just about you taking care of yourself. But what does it mean for you? You know, we're talking about self-care. It means different things for different people. There's certain techniques that have worked for me since, and one of them is exercise. And before 3 or 4 years ago, my exercise was, in fact, it was more than 3-4 years ago. I'd say it's about 10 years ago. Before then, I was a gym fanatic. You would always find me in the gym. I was lifting weights, I was in an aerobics class, I was in the swimming pool. This is what I did. This helped me a lot to manage whatever I was going through with the stresses that I've explained to you, the frustrations, the disorganization, managing the many hats. And Jerry, I hope I'm speaking to you right now. I had a technique then. This technique has evolved today, and it has evolved to walking. And I purpose to walk at least 45 minutes 3 to 4 times in a week, because this I have found works well for me. This is the point where I download. This is the point where I process things and I'm able to think with myself, have a meeting with myself when I'm in motion. And this has worked so well for me, to the point that I look forward to my walks, because this is where I find solutions. The other thing that has worked for me is healthy nutrition choices when it comes to self-care. And I found that I have more energy today, energy that is close to me taking a B12 pill, because we all know the B12 pill is what is going to give you a boost of energy. And I'm finding that now with my choice of healthy nutrition, this is happening and I'm able to apply more. I'm finding that the time I was feeling brain fog, I'm able to manage this now and move on. There's also the role of mindfulness and work-life integration in achieving harmony in personal and business. Just that appreciation of mindfulness. And when I'm talking about mindfulness, I come back to myself again. Think about yourself. Are you being mindful? Are you being mindful about the language that you are speaking to yourself? That is your self-talk. Are you being mindful about the things that you're taking in? And that is, I mean, the things that you're reading, the things that you're watching, the things that you're listening to. This mindfulness, just having an appreciation of this concept, has helped me so much. To the point a few years back, I stopped reading certain books, and by moving them away, I introduced self-help books into my life, because I was intentional, and this is how self-care started working for me. So what is this that you are seeing as self-care? And whatever it is, can you be intentional about it? I'm walking, I'm eating healthier, I am taking in things intentionally, self-help books that are helping me to see things in different perspectives. So my question for the day was, does work-life balance really exist? And I thank you, Jerry Maina, for contributing and saying, yes, it does. And I thank you, Ndambuki, for sharing the different hats that you're wearing. So these 3 strategies have worked for me: prioritization, communication, and self-care. Which ones have worked for me, for you? So in working for me, they've helped me get valuable insights towards my own developing of skills and my mindset, because the mindset is really powerful, guys. It gets you thinking in a certain way. You're either in a creator mode or a victim mode, or you're in a freeze mode where you're sticking your head in the sand. Whichever one you're in, that is the mindset that is going to come as a result of where you're at and what you apply. So this concept, I do hope, is helping you today. 3 takeaways, as I promise. I never leave you with 3 takeaways. Number 1 is be self-aware. Know what it is you want to do and how you want to do it, and prioritize it. Number 2 is listen to understand. Make that part of your communication goals. Make sure that when people are speaking, you listen, active listening, because you want their buy-in. You want to know where they're coming from so that you can help if you're a helper like me. And last but not least is prioritize self-care. Whatever self-care looks like for you, decide what you're going to do for yourself intentionally. So talking about intentions, intentionally seeking harmony will help develop a well-rounded approach to managing both your relationships and entrepreneurial pursuits. It's going to help you. There can be a relationship between these two. So ultimately, it's going to lead you to a more fulfilling and balanced life. Now, the recording of this session is going to go up just this evening. And if you would like to go back over it and over and share it with others, you want to visit my YouTube channel, which is LMC Consultancy. While you're there, please subscribe, like, share, press the notification button so that you can keep on hearing from me. And you will see there's some YouTube shorts that I'm beginning to put up there, which is a shorter version of what we are talking about today. Check out our courses on my website, lmcconsultancy.com, for more learnings. And our socials have great tips on personal development and mental wellness. I have a few questions for you, and I'm hoping that you would be able to answer by joining me. Are you battling with mental well-being, decision-making? Are you battling with building healthy relationships? Then you want to join me on the 21st of September for a training that is called Who Am I? This is all about identity crisis. If you are a millennial and you're out there, if you know a millennial, because this training is an online training for the ages between 18 and 35. You want to join. You want to tell them to join. Go onto my socials and be able to click the link, find where it is you can register. My socials are on IG, where we are right now, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, and I'm there as Lucy, your clarity coach. Once there, just click in the bio or click in the link and register. The cost is 700 shillings, and I give you 2 hours of valuable information on Who Am I? Identity Crisis. We're going to be concentrating on core values, and as we come to the end of this, I want to announce that we do have an early bird right now. It's 500 shillings, so rush to my socials, click, register, pay, and get onto the bandwagon. Our next session is on finding balance in meaningful relationships. Let us help one another by building each other. And until then, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.